Satire is the easiest form of comedy writing, but also the hardest to do well. I think this is because of three things. One, satire generally works entirely from negativity. Satire says this thing is bad and will show you how bad it is by comically inflating it. Two, satire exists in a binary of morally good and bad. Your characters are either good or evil. And three, it's all giant brush strokes, satire is. And all three of those elements add up to a subgenre of comedy that is usually pretty predictable, which is anathema to humor. When Trump was elected, I kind of felt like satire died. Like the power of satire is to make the current state or power structure look foolish, but satire can't do that if the existing power dynamic already embraces its own foolishness. It's the final rap battle of 8 Mile. You can't insult me if I've already admitted to everything you've written down. I'm inoculated to ridicule. But maybe I was wrong. I don't think satire died in 2016. It just felt that way because satire had to change to evolve with a new social media world in which a satirical joke, let's say making fun of the tweeted word covfefe, landed at 8 a.m. Eastern time, and by noon, everyone was fucking sick of it. To me, satire works best when it's using unique words and images, not just sorry, let me start that again. To me, satire works best when it's using unique phrases and images. Just mocking or impersonating someone isn't enough. Satire needs poetry, special turns of phrase, bombastic visuals that are each and every one unexpected. In fact, I think all satire needs slimy rubber hands going up assholes and back out of mouths as a depiction of the oligarchy, of the good old boys network, of the rich elites who gaslight us all. There is nothing better than a good shunting. I was cautioned last week that Brian Yuzna's 1989 satire Society was not a perfect film, and I completely agree. I will never argue that this is even a good movie, but it is an outstanding satire. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
What's your favorite kind of apple?
What's my favorite kind of apple? I don't know if I thought too much about it. I do like a green apple. Green apples are
Like a
delicious
Granny
always.
Smith?
Yeah,
Like a
Granny
like a
Smith, can't
good
go wrong with
crisp,
that.
tart, kind of sour
Yeah,
apple? Yeah.
yeah. Just because I feel like whenever I go for the red apples at the grocery store, they always come out a bit too mealy.
Yeah. I
Not all the time, but just like
yeah.
every once in a while, I'm like, oh, these apples are gross.
I'm kind of a basic bitch and sort of like a Honey Crisp apple. Those are always
Yeah.
pretty good,
Oh,
nice and
yeah.
sweet. I asked that, of course, because in this opening scene of this movie, we have Bill eating a a golden delicious apple,
Uh-huh.
which might be my least favorite apple
Yeah.
because, like you, yeah, I kind of know that they're already gonna be mealy even when they're fresh. I
Yeah.
feel like. So
Well,
I
that's
avoid,
why.
yeah, I avoid it. And so when he starts biting into a golden delicious apple, I thought to myself, ew, not knowing that we're about to ramp up the ew real hardcore in
Oh,
this
for
movie.
sure. Well, that's why he only takes one bite and puts it right back in the fruit bowl,
It's,
which is the appropriate way to eat an apple like that.
it's not a, I like putting it right back in the fruit bowl. It's so
Hmm.
good.
You're like, no one
I,
will ever know.
I am now very disappointed in my therapist of not having a fruit bowl in
Well,
her
did you
office.
notice throughout this movie, there's like cucumber plates? There's like crudité in like every scene. When these characters are not eating them, there's like apples in the doctor's office. There's like mom and dad have just like a plate of like carrots and cucumbers sitting out that no one eats. I started clocking this and I was like, what is going on here? They're like, we need to put something on this coffee table. Just run to craft services and go get something and put it out there.
I think that's one of the things I really appreciated about this movie. I think there are a handful of movies like this in my life that while I'm watching it, I don't think I thought anything of it other than, I mean, it was good. I enjoyed watching it. Like I would recommend this movie to people who feel like they can handle the body horror of it. But it's it's after the movie. Like I thought about it for a long time last night. Like
Yeah.
it really sits with you. And I think one of the things that I kept reflecting back on is those attentions, that attention to detail. So, what better way to depict the idea that like this elite rich old money society sort of thing is kind of the dominating underclass of everything going on than to always have crudité out. It's everything is always being like catered to the nicest of society. If you go to a really expensive spa, I mean, they're all
Yeah.
constantly handing you shit with cucumbers in it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the vibe of every scene in this movie. So yeah, I thought that attention to detail was really great.
I mean, even his hookup, she offers like with Clarissa, she offers him tea afterwards,
Uh-huh.
milk, sugar.
Yeah.
Shall I pee in it? That is how you serve tea. A little bit of lemon, a little bit of
Uh-huh.
honey, a little bit of urine.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how society does it.
All the English and Irish people out there are like, yes, correct. Finally,
Mm-hmm.
Americans understand tea culture.
Oh, they finally get it.
So this movie opens with sort of creepy version of as the closed captioning denotes, this is the Eton boat song, Eton, Eton,
Yeah. Yeah.
Eton boat song. Yeah, and it is all about going with the flow of society. Society will welcome you. Society waits for you. This sort of bullshit. It's
In
yeah, it's old
in
school Richie
perfect,
people
like,
stuff.
boys choir,
Hmm.
ethereal, over top of the finale of this film, but in a like dark scape.
Yeah.
So you're like, what the fuck am I even looking at from the very moment this movie starts?
Yeah. Love a good creepy choral music to start a
Yeah.
horror film. It's always good. We meet Teen Bill. He is moving nervously, cautiously late at night through this giant mansion. Uh, we hear
Talk about Donald
shouting.
Trump. I was like, oh, from moment when I was like, oh look, Mar-a-Lago. Let's see what's going on. Let's zoom in.
Mar-a-Lago West.
Yes.
He can hear shouting and laughing in the upstairs somewhere in the place. He grabs a chef's knife. He ends up like backing nervously against a wall, holding the knife to his chest, and then suddenly lights on, and there's Mom. Bill?
Are you okay, Bill? He does not look okay.
He does not look good. Bill cut to his therapy session or counselor session with Dr. Cleveland. And yeah, he is talking about feeling scared, feeling frightened of his parents, of his sister, of you, doctor, even.
Yeah.
I feel like something's going to happen. And at one point in time, this is when he bites into that apple and looks into it, and it's just bloody ass worms crawling out of it.
Yeah. Ugh.
And the whole time he's saying, the doctor is saying, "Don't worry, it'll pass. I assure you, everything's fine."
You're just a teenager.
That's
Teenagers often feel alienated.
that's right. That's just how it is. Just as a heads up, man, this movie is full on into paranoia and gaslighting. Is
Yeah, it is.
constant theme of this film. Then we get a title sequence, sort of
Yep. As
cluing us
described.
into what is to come.
Yep. This is such a weird horror movie. This movie is so wild
Uh
to
huh.
me because it has almost no scares throughout the body of the movie.
Right.
Like there's like two little weird moments of kind of body horror, but even that is just like pretty minute. It plays much more like Rosemary's Baby in
Yeah.
that it's more about like the slow turning up of the heat of the paranoia, but there's nothing like scary really happens until like the last 20 minutes of this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It's audacious in that way, I think, of not being a horror movie. It
Yeah.
does feel a little like teen teen dramedy
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. And yeah, we just get little glimpses like these worms, or there's going to
Mhm.
be the gardener with a plate of snails.
Oh my God, which is my favorite thing to do is just, wandering through the garden with a crystal plate of snails. Oh, this is the best crop we've had ever.
Well, this title sequence, we're playing the Eaton Boat song again, with slow-mo people in kind of dark red light sloshing. We don't know what it is yet, but
Yeah,
it
we
is.
don't know.
It looks like alien guts or something, and
Yeah, it
they're
looks kind of alien, but also sexual.
uh-huh.
Yeah, but it's so tight in you don't really get a sense of what the fuck is actually going on here.
That's the using that word again, like audacious. Like I think what I really loved about this movie is it is so audacious. It's so very 80s
Oh yeah.
in all of its tropes and all of its style and its fashion, things like that. But it doesn't quite feel like an 80s horror movie. It feels very conceptual.
Yeah.
I thought it found a new language of satire that I thought was so interesting. So we meet Milo now. Milo and Bill are good friends. They play basketball together.
Yeah.
Bill can dribble on a driveway and run and then jump, and then someone else can dunk a ball on a different
Hmm.
cut screen.
Oh, listen, he is a short king, okay? And I gotta say, those 80s fashions are not helping him out at all. He looks like he is pocket-sized.
hmm
I also love the fact that his Jeep Wrangler or whatever has hoops, is his vanity
Yes.
license plate.
I didn't clock that till about 2/3 of the way through. I'm like,
Hoops.
hoops.
All right, hoops.
There's a lot of scenes between Bill and Milo that where they're close to each other, and you can tell Milo's a full 8 inches taller than
Oh
Bill.
yeah.
Like I was like, is Milo giant or is Bill tiny? I can't quite figure this one out. Blue Van shows up. He realizes, and you can tell by the quality of the house and the quality of Bill's fancy, well polished black Jeep and all of the other cars there that he is of a rich family. But there's kind
Oh
of a
yes.
beat up old blue conversion van that shows up, and that's David Blanchard, his sister's ex boyfriend.
Yeah.
So Jenny's like, "Oh, Bill, I can't deal with him. Get rid of him for me."
It's like, all right, what are brothers for?
But Jenny is getting ready. She's putting on her pink dress and pearl earrings.
Mm-hmm.
And there's someone in her closet, and out springs David Blanchard attacking her, pushing her down, and trying to. The weird way to say I need to talk to you.
Yeah.
It's a little aggressive.
It's not what it seems, but it's also exactly what it seems as
hmm
I've been sitting here hiding in your closet for the last 10 minutes.
I keep thinking about that priest from The Omen who's like showing up at Gregory Peck's office, being like,
Yeah.
Your child is Satan reincarnated." I'm like, you have to start
You're
down
like
here. Start at a
preamble,
2. Yeah.
preamble
Uh,
this
Talk,
information.
talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old first, and
Yep.
then we'll work our way up. So Bill has to come in there and like get
Yeah.
Blanchard off of his sister and basically kick him out of the house. The whole
This,
time Blanchard is like, you have to talk to me. Something weird is going. You have to talk
yeah.
to me. Something weird is happening.
We also get introduced to the parents here in their
Uh-huh.
full parental. These two parents, they are so creepy in this movie.
Yes.
I know we got to this by Bad Mom, Bad Dad, and I think check. And splatter. And, just because it says splatter doesn't mean it's blood.
There's so
Because
little
this is
blood in this movie.
this is pretty much a bloodless horror movie. Now, lube, on the other hand, there is quite a bit of splatter lube
Yeah,
going
somebody
on
had a
here.
discount code at adamandeve.com. Yep.
Mm-hmm. They're like, we're going lube wrestling later tonight.
hmm
But these parents are so wild. They're so just uninterested in their children.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, well, they're very interested in Jenny,
Yes.
but with
True.
Bill, they're this is a very funny sequence where they're standing on the beautiful staircase of their mansion talking to Jenny, being like, "Oh, it's such a beautiful night. Your coming out party is tonight, your debutante ball." And and I think Judge Carter might be there. What an
Oh.
exciting time. And then they're like, "Bill, you got a basketball game tonight, right?" "Yep." And they just turn around and walk
And they
off.
literally just turn around and walk away. Oh my God. This is one of those things where, like, again, the miscommunication between these characters in this movie, it's hard to tell if it's like on purpose, if it's just the movie,
Uh-huh.
if it's a bit of everything, but this is a movie filled with people not talking to each other. They might
Yeah.
be sharing the same physical space, facing each other, and their mouths are moving, but no one actually hears anything that anyone else says.
Uh-huh. So, and Bill also like helps Jenny with her dress. He zips up the back of her dress, but he notices like her back is still wet. Like there are still droplets of water all over her back, and something is moving, like something like
Under her
lemon
skin.
sized
Yeah.
moving under her skin.
Which, I mean, she was just like wrestling. She was wrestled to the ground by her
True,
ex-boyfriend. So I was
true.
like, okay, sure. But yeah, kind of weird. Yeah, there's like something moving under her
Mm,
skin. And this is going to, this is sort of Bill's continual struggle with keeping a grasp on reality, in
yeah,
that it's like he'll see something, he'll go, whoa, uh, what's wrong, Bill? Nothing. Nothing is wrong.
yeah.
And we're going to get that throughout.
There's a such a strong component of like teen alienation in this movie,
Yeah.
and I'm sort of curious because this is my lack of horror knowledge and also kind of like a lack of like not lack of knowledge of queer cinema. And I wouldn't this isn't a queer movie, but like it does feel like there's a very strong queer read to be made here,
Sure.
especially because in the final battle of the movie it involves Ted planting a huge kiss on
I mean,
Bill, but it's not
there's
a
a
kiss, but it
it's a
is a
kiss.
kiss.
There's like, listen, there is a lot of fisting and J-lube going on in this movie.
Yep.
But you're right. Like Bill, they kind of play it off as, Bill is this, it's teased whether he's adopted. He doesn't feel like he fits into his family, but it really does feel like he could be perceived as like a queer character
Yeah.
in that. I mean, he's pretty girl horny
He's
throughout
very
most
girl
of the movie.
horny. Yeah.
But that feeling of alienation, that feeling of being in the family but not of the family, in society but not of society, that is a pretty strong like queer theme throughout. Where like you look normal, everyone knows you, everyone knows your name, you invited to all the parties, but you never really fit in.
Yeah. So he is also running for, I guess, student body president. Bill is
Is he?
Uh, barely. And
What
there
is
is
what is this? What is going on? And this student body debate.
this is so funny. So it is Bill in his like Letterman jacket and feathered 80s hair, and he's very much like running on the popularity of being the star athlete at
Yes.
Beverly Hills Academy. And he's up against Marty, who is basically the most preppy looking
Oh
kid
yeah.
at
Yeah.
school. As we'll learn that Marty is kind of part of Ted Ferguson's group, and that
Mhm.
is the society, right? These are the people
Yeah.
we do not lose. These are the rich kids who are always given the internships, always given the jobs, always given the trust funds, always given the leg up in society. And Bill, while he is part of Beverly Hills Academy, is a
Mhm.
star athlete, has a nice Jeep, lives in a fancy house with rich parents, is outside of those circles.
They're the Heathers. They
Yes.
are the Heathers of this high school, of
Yeah.
society.
Yeah. It is very funny to take rich, white, straight, popular, athletic boy
And
and
be
say,
like, this is your counter. Yeah.
let's make him a symbol for people who feel alienated from society, which I think might not be intentional. It might just be whatever. That's just how we did it.
Yeah.
But I think this movie does a lot of things that you raise an eyebrow at, and later, as you think about it, you realize I get what they were doing. This was deliberate.
Oh yeah.
So he is trying to debate Marty, but he's being distracted by Ted and the gang on the front row, and sitting right in the middle is Clarissa, basically hot girl, doing her Sharon Stone leg cross thing,
Yes.
showing her cooch to him while he's trying to give a speech about the dress code.
Which I do like the fact that they're debating the dress code, which is a uniform, like whether or
Yeah.
not they should have a uniform at this high school, which again is another form of, preparing you for society. We want to make sure everyone fits in. There's no outcast, there's no expression of individuality. But he is bumbling this so bad because of Clarissa's I don't know, horniness down
Uh-huh.
front. It's hard to tell whether he is pro dress code, anti dress code. Like
Yeah.
he's just saying word salad up there.
It is very, very good. So one other thing, there's a scene with the therapist. I'll kind of burn through it because it's kind of a similar, just slow build as to like we know that the therapist is bad. But he does make a comment to Bill, when he keeps telling Bill, I think you're paranoid, when Bill thinks he's
Yeah.
adopted. And the therapist says, you're really going to deserve what's going to happen to you. And he was like, what do you mean, what's going to happen to me? And he's like, you'll make a wonderful contribution to society. Like,
Of
I
course.
think I know what that means.
Yeah. Do you though? Like this movie, because like you're right, that this movie is not a good movie, but it's an excellent movie in so many ways
Yeah.
because there are these little gems like that, which you can only see this movie once. Once you see the end of the movie, you can then go back and be like, wow, they really did breadcrumb throughout this film all these different layers of talking about society. Something as innocuous as, oh, it's normal, typical teenage stuff. You're going to graduate, you're going to get into the right school, you're going to, be a productive member of society. But once you actually see the end of the movie, you know what that actually entails.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Most definitely. Um, so a couple of like observations he's about to make. Like one, he's gonna go to the beach with his girlfriend, Shauna, and he tries to go get suntan lotion out of his sister's bathroom. And she's in the shower, showering in the frosted glass
Mhm.
window. And as he sees her showering, it looks like her feet are facing the lower half of the body is facing
Yeah.
the rear upstage,
Yeah.
and the top half of her body is facing downstage.
Yeah. Like you can see her butt and her boobs and her
Face.
face all on the same side.
Yeah.
I love this.
It's so creepy because it takes you a second to figure out like what am I looking at?
Yeah,
What is
what am I
happening?
actually looking at? Like it reminds me of like ancient mythology,
Mm.
like a primal, like ancient human kind of thing of like distorted human bodies.
Yeah.
Because when we talk about body horror, often it's like something has invaded our body and our body is changing or morphing, or The Thing is a classic example of like 80s practical body effects in which we watch bodies kind of morph and change. But the two kind of mini scares that come up in this movie are more about like body image twisting, like impossible bodies
Yeah. Yeah.
that are behaving normally. Like they're not in distress, they're just chilling, but it's like head is on reverse,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, there's a moment later where he's making out with Clarissa, and what should be his hand coming up over her back is clearly her hand coming
Yeah.
up over her own back. And it's I to my taste, I find that so interesting. I mean, I
Yeah.
find that so that moment of trying to figure out what am I looking at here
Yeah.
is so much more interesting than, oh, that's weird. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm, mhm.
the alien shape at the end is hard to fathom exactly what's happening, but the alien shape when we see it in the opening credits is a what am I looking at here? Because it
Yeah.
doesn't show you everything you need to know. He opens up the door to the shower and she is completely normal and covering her body, being like, fuck off, you pervert.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Yeah.
Outside, mom and dad are just laughing with their gardener who has his crystal plate of snails,
Ridiculous.
slugs, whatever.
Oh. And they just walks up and they just all stop and slow turn to look at him.
So and throughout he's gonna be having like, so in this moment he gets in his Jeep to drive to the beach, and inside his Jeep is a Ken doll with a screw driven into its head.
Yeah.
So there's kind of these like weird "you've been marked" type totems that are left
Yeah.
in his, in his Jeep or his
Yeah, he
locker,
gets
things
that. He
throughout.
gets a shrunken head. I mean, it all kind of is like kind of goes back to the sort of 80s stereotype of like you're crazy because you're in therapy.
Yeah. Oh
Your
yeah.
therapy, you're a crazy kid.
Yeah.
So you might be rich, you might be handsome, you might be popular, but you're still fucked in the head.
Yeah. At the beach, he and his girlfriend are trying to have a lovely time just making out. She says, I love you. And if you really loved me, you'd get us invited to Ted Ferguson's party.
Oh
Why
my
don't you
God.
go talk to him?
This beach scene, it's so funny, like how Gidget
Uh huh.
this movie is,
Yeah.
which I think is kind of important, actually. Like, it's important that we understand the stupid high school preoccupation with the pecking order, which was not necessarily a thing at my high school, or like I don't remember being a part of it. Like it's not so important to me as a teenager. But this idea of, I think, what is often uh adults looking back at their high school years and then writing these like important social hierarchies of high school, of like who's throwing the party, how to get to that party, who's invited, who's not invited, from, like I said, from like Gidget, like, Frankie and Annette, all the way through Mean Girls. Like it's that status system that is so important in high school, is like a really great way to set up the rest of the world.
Yeah. Oh, I fully agree. I do think it's fully intentional. And I think if you're going to do satire, not just as a one off joke, but as a full feature length film,
Sure.
is what makes satire really hard. Like a one off satirical joke is pretty easy and kind of common, but to make the whole film, it has to be so structurally sound. Like you
Yeah.
need to be basing it off of things we recognize and
Mhm.
understand. And I think about like utilitarian architecture, which is so plain and structured and just that we're just making for the best possible use, regardless of what it looks like.
Sure.
Satire has to be that structurally, but then it has to be so gaudy.
Yeah.
Then you have to add the gaudiness. So like it needs to be bedazzled with your
Yeah, the
jokes.
details. The
Uh-huh.
details that make it personal,
Yeah.
recognizable.
And this scene is perfectly playing kind of the beach blanket bingo meets the
Yep.
1980s, like, because it's a little racy, the bikini, and then they're making out. And then the humor of this are these two little boys, like dressed
Love
in
it.
like war paint, playing war
Yeah.
on the beach. They sneak up, grab their suntan lotion, stand over the couple, and then just hose this girl down, hose Shauna down with the suntan lotion,
I
screaming,
think it's her
"Die!"
brother. It's her little brother.
Oh, is that who that is?
Because yeah, she says like, Johnny, stop it or something, but it sounds
Okay.
very little like, oh, but clearly she goes, my hair, which,
Yes.
come on, you're at the beach, girl. I
And they
love it. But it's so silly.
and they scream, "Die, alien scum!" at her, which
Yes.
is great.
Which oh my God. Like, okay, so compare like this beach to the Lost Boys
Uh-huh.
beach. They're both 80s. They're both beachy. They're both kind of exploring teen alienation, teen angst, But like this is like night and day. This is like Baywatch versus Interview with a Vampire, you
Mhm.
know?
He he tries to chase these kids down, but they get away, leaving behind the suntan lotion bottle, and then he runs into super hot Clarissa. So at this point, this
And she
is
squirts him.
this I laughed so hard. This is such a great scene because he is on all fours
Yeah.
he's about to pick up this bottle. She's picked it up before him. So she is standing over him on all fours, holding this bottle kind of lower at her waist.
Mm-hmm.
And she squirts, she money shots him with the
Yeah,
sunscreen.
she gives him a pearl necklace.
She does. And she says, "Don't get too hot," and wanders off.
What? This movie is ridiculous.
Oh, I love it. I loved it so much. And after that, he runs into a very large woman
Yes. Oh,
with
mama.
in her one-piece swimsuit and necklace. We will learn soon that this is Mrs. Carlin. This is Clarissa
Yes.
Carlin's mother.
I have a theory on her, but I'm going to save it for later.
Okay. All right. We'll put a pin in that,
Put
as
a
they
pin in
say.
Mrs. Carlin.
Mm-hmm. But she is very clearly kind of like she's oafish and slow. Like
Yeah.
she is grunty. She doesn't have
She didn't
dialogue.
say anything.
No.
Yeah. He just kind of goes, oh, Mrs. Carlin. And then they just kind of, it's a very jarring and weird.
Yeah. Well, it's very clear that to Marty when he go, or I'm sorry, it's very clear to Bill when he goes to talk to Ted and Marty at all at the beach that they didn't invite him because he's
Mhm.
not part of their group. And by the way, you're running against Marty. We do not lose. Marty is our guy. Like this is classic voting block sort of
I think
bullshit.
they said like he's born to lead.
Yeah. Ooh. And Ted even makes a comment, I mean, he's basically saying like, you could, if you just relax, man, just be part of this thing, I'll
Yeah.
send you a personalized telegram to your home.
Okay.
But Bill runs into Blanchard, who's like, you gotta come with me, go around the
Hey.
corner. We're gonna go meet at this pier. I gotta show you something. And he plays for him on a little micro cassette recorder. Somehow Blanchard, I guess on Amazon, had ordered a tiny like little mini microphone to plant on Jenny's earring that remotely recorded to a micro cassette recorder that he hid under the car seat.
Uh-huh.
I was like,
if you notice later his personalized license plate, because it's the 80s in California, so everyone has a personalized license plate. His personalized license plate is EAR, EAR.
Yeah.
So maybe he's like trying to be a private detective or something. He's in the recording business.
I guess so. These two boys both love their, what's the word? Synecdoche, like
Yeah.
the single word to describe a bigger thing. He's into audio production, so he's ear.
Yep.
He's into basketball, so he's hoops. But on the tape, what we hear is Jenny going to the debutante ball with her
She's going to
family.
her coming out party. Yeah.
And you hear basically dad say, okay, well, the way this works is that first we dine, then you copulate, then we copulate. You will copulate with someone your own age and then with your mother and me.
Yes.
And then in comes the host, right? So
what do you do? What is this? I fast forward.
Mm-hmm.
It's later and it's like it's just weird gloppy sex sounds.
Yes. And you hear her mother telling Jenny on this tape, like, it's so much fun to see how far you can stretch. Like hotter and wetter you are, the more you can do.
I think they're just in like a hot yoga class.
Maybe so. Yeah, that checks for hot yoga as well.
Yeah.
But also we hear through the tape that she and Ted were fucking each other. Ted Ferguson were fucking each other. We hear laughing and somebody screaming. Bill is like, give me that fucking tape. Takes that from Blanchard.
He cannot function with all this.
Dumb Bill. He takes it straight to Dr. Cleveland thinking,
oh man,
this therapist has his best interest.
Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they aren't out to get you.
Yeah. So he trusts Dr. Cleveland with the tape, and I just wrote, no, Bill, no.
Listen to this in front of me.
Uh-huh.
Like, sit down right now. You're not with another client. Listen to this right now.
Yeah.
And if not, I'm going to take this home and we will listen to it in session tomorrow.
Yeah. At school, Shauna gets mad at Bill because they didn't get invited to the party. And the whole time Bill is like, I have to talk to you about what's
really
been going on. She's like, but I don't know, Billy, maybe we should see other people. You can't even get us to a party. I'm like, you two are talking about totally different things, and maybe
Yeah,
this isn't right. And she's like, maybe we should see other people. I'm like, I think you should.
I think you should. Honestly, anybody who's like, I love, I think I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you loved me, you would get me this.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who says that, I'm like, something's awry here.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny how like Jenny is like clearly a great like why she's not part of society already, I don't understand.
Oh, the girlfriend Shauna.
Oh,
This
Shauna,
Shauna.
sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's so interesting. I sort of wondered if yeah, I'm really curious as to like who is or isn't part of society
I know, right?
because there also feels like there are people part of society who pretend not to be part of the society because
Yes.
that's their job.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and Jenny, the sister Jenny, like she seems kind of relatable in the beginning.
mhm,
And then after her debutante ball, she has like a hard flip.
mhm,
Hard flip.
mhm. So Dr. Cleveland plays the tape back for Bill saying like, "Oh, this is like illegal, not totally immoral of you to like
Yeah.
record people's private conversations." And he plays the tape back and it's the exact same beats of conversation that we heard earlier, only it's like first we dine and then we socialize.
Yeah. And then
You
we'll
know,
introduce you to everybody and
and
you'll come out to
and then
society.
first you should dance with someone your own age, and then you will dance with mother and me,
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
in comes the host. And yeah, yeah, it's a great flip of truth there, right? Like this constant gaslighting of how this
Yeah.
gets phrased. And the doctor also uses phrase here where, Bill is getting so frustrated. The doctor's like, I really hate to give you drugs, Bill, but here we go. I'm gonna write you a prescription. Bill's like, no, he grabs the phone off the desk and calls Blanchard. He's like, you kept a copy of that tape, right? I'm coming to get it. I'll meet you at this intersection right now. Dumb. Said that in
I
front
know.
of the doctor.
Right in front of the doctor. He's like, wait 1 minute. Runs out into his Jeep. But by the time he gets there,
Mm-hmm.
we have a amazing Hollywood crash set.
Yes.
This is one of my favorite things about like movies like this, in which they just like make this big elaborate car crash set. Like we don't see any action. It's just like you pull up and then it's just, following a character through the crash site.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is really fun. I start coming off of like action films and things like that, where we make a big production out of the chase and the wreck. I think there's something more haunting about the fact that you arrive with the van fully upside down,
Yeah.
blood and glass all over the street,
Yeah.
and a covered stretcher where we don't even see Blanchard's face
No.
being put in by these EMTs who do not give him the time of day. It's all very
No.
David Lynchian, right?
Yeah.
It's got that vibe to it. He tries to go through Blanchard's stuff because there's all this audio equipment that's spilled out onto the road. And I just wrote down, I didn't catch this character's name, but I'm just going to call him Officer Peyton Manning because that's who he
Okay.
looks like. But
Yep.
Officer
Officer
Peyton
Payman.
Manning
Yep. Officer
stops.
Porn Cop.
Officer Porn Cop is like, it's illegal. It's a felony to go through an accident scene. I was like, is it? This isn't maybe, I guess.
Like it's a car crash. I don't
Yeah.
know. He's also I knew the victim. And
Yeah.
you wouldn't even tell me if he was dead or not.
Mm-hmm. He gets back home and it's okay. Walking into bringing it back to, let me start this over. He goes back home and bringing this back to David Lynch. I think one of the scariest moments in any of his films or moments that upset me a whole lot is in Mulholland Drive when our main character gets home and he knows that he's pretty certain that his wife is sleeping with the pool man
Okay.
and he can't he
Right.
doesn't see her. He's calling her name. He walks all the way to the back bedroom and opens the door, and she and the pool man are in bed together, but he doesn't catch them fucking. They're both sitting up in bed staring at him.
Yeah.
And that's freaky as shit.
Yeah.
Like somebody just, you think things are normal, or you think you're going to catch somebody doing something, or just they're just doing their normal life, but people sitting and waiting for you, which is kind of how the family is when he gets home
Right.
to tell them
Like they've
about
been
Blanchard.
expecting you to arrive to catch them.
Yeah. And they hand him a telegram from Ted Ferguson. You are
Oh my God.
heretofore cordially invited to my party on
Who sends a
Saturday.
telegram?
Well,
Who
Ted did because
sends
that's
a
what he said he
Who
would
sends a
do.
telegram? In the 80s, they were still sending telegrams in the 80s.
You could still do a telegram in the 80s. That's what Western Union, you could do
I mean, I believe
telegrams.
it.
Yeah.
I know this is factually true.
Uh-huh.
But really, are we sending telegrams in the 80s to
Crazy.
high school birthday parties or to high school parties?
I think that's hilarious that he did that. Because he
Uh,
threatened to do it and he fucking did it.
and he did it because that's what society wants. That's what
Hmm.
society wants. They're trying to, it's really weird, like whether they're trying to bring Bill into the fold of society or whether they're trying to like fatten him up for society, and the movie's really vague on those things. But I kind of feel like earlier in the movie, they're giving him like all these entries like, hey,
Uh-huh.
look, you like the way that mom and dad are like, you've got to open this telegram. It could be exciting. It's like, did he get into college? Like with the anticipation and excitement of being accepted to college,
Yeah.
this telegram.
Yeah. Of
And the
what a big
scene is
deal it
like,
is. Yeah.
it's how such a big deal. Even though it's like some, douchebag neighbor who probably throws parties like these like 4 times, 5 times a year. But like what makes the scene so tragic is that he, like Bill, is trying to express to them the fact that his friend ish and Jenny's ex-boyfriend is dead.
Uh-huh.
And they go, oh, I know. I heard about the wreck. That's so sad. What are you going to wear tonight? He's like, to the funeral? No, to the party, silly. That is fucked up. That to me is like when I was talking about like the miscommunication in this
Mm-hmm.
movie of just like two people having playing two different scenes at each other. That to me is almost so scary. Like that is scarier than a big scary jump scare,
Yeah.
than a guy with a knife. I mean, a guy with a knife is pretty scary, but the of like wanting to like jump into the television screen and like smack the characters and be like, did you hear what she just said? Did you hear what he just said? No. Like that to me is so frustrating and so like gets me on edge.
So he goes to the party, right? And he sees Clarissa again.
Which he is underdressed for that party, I would like to point out.
Mm-hmm.
He did not think about what he was going to wear to this party.
Right, which is why, like, beyond just him being really into him being hot for girls, this is what makes him straight ultimately, is that
Yes,
he
I know
just
that's
did
right.
not like put
Yeah.
any time or effort into dressing up as anything other than like, guess I'll wear my Letterman's jacket. I don't remember what he wears, but
Yeah.
it's pretty underdressed. He there's just a great moment of a girl looking on who's got a side pony, and I just loved having a side pony for just a
Oh
brief
yeah.
minute. It was
Yeah.
lovely.
I mean, I loved all the gray pattern blazers with, pushed up to the
Mm.
pushed
Mhm.
up to the forearms on the
Yeah.
guys. I mean, that late 80s fashion was something. Over top of like an electric blue and black sweater.
Yeah.
Love it.
Amazing.
Everyone looks like they're in Miami Vice.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we were trying to move away from our mid 80s pastel stuff and on into the 90s. We started getting into a lot of like black and white busy pattern sort of shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, he's dancing with Clarissa, and Milo interrupts them because, Milo is, of course, like a friend of Blanchard's and a friend of Bill's, is like, this is fucked up. Like, do we realize what's happening?
Yeah.
And he insults Clarissa by saying, like, at least I don't turn tricks to get my kicks, which is such an 80s phrase. Turn
I know, right?
tricks.
Yeah, yeah. And she just goes, "Psst, whatever."
Walks off into a tent. So Bill goes into the tent to follow after her, and that's where Ted and Marty and every fucking one of these
Yeah.
teenage society douchebags are. And he and Ted get go head to head here of, Ted's like, yeah, first we dined, then I fucked your sister, and everyone else did too. And then he says, and then I ran that bagel breath Blanchard into a pole. It was a pretty busy day, wouldn't you say, buddy?
Yeah.
This was the first moment that I realized, because they used this epithet of bagel breath, that Blanchard is Jewish.
Yep.
And that's about to become a thing, at least for me, when we see his funeral.
Yeah, which is in a synagogue.
Kind of.
Sort of. Yeah.
He says, he and Ted basically kind of, get into a row, get into a fight.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you make waves, Whitney, you're gonna drown, and they
Push him into
toss
the
his ass into the
pool.
pool.
Oh, the ultimate embarrassment.
And that's where Clarissa comes, starts flirting with him and says, "Want to go get soaked?" Which I thought was something that sounds vaguely euphemistic, but it's just meant like, let's get a drink. No, she literally is being euphemistic for, do you want to fuck? And is that a
Yeah.
phrase? I don't remember, like, get soaked, meaning
No.
let's go do it.
No, I don't think that's a thing. Unless you're
Okay.
talking about soaking, which is a thing.
That is a thing. But this is in California, not in Utah.
This is not, no, we're not in soaking. We're in shunting territory, not soaking
Yep.
territory here.
Yep. They go back to her fancy mansion house, and definitely we get some Cinemax level fucking
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Like, this
Oh,
is
yeah.
so Skinemax. But this is like afterwards, like, he sees her arm coming around her own body for a second and just kind of gets a little freaked out.
And then he rolls off the bed and he
Mm-hmm.
sees, like, again, this like body morph where like her half of her body is twisted the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And she's all like, "What? What's the matter, Bill?"
He's like, your body just looked all twisted around. She's like, you're so cute. This is a scene wherein I think I have a theory that deep down the filmmakers really, 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 if they had CGI, I think this is where CGI could have really benefited a film, which we didn't have yet.
Sure.
Which was because the fucking was so basic. It was just cowgirl fucking, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I think it would have been really fascinating to put him in a situation where you actually demonstrate how the ability to twist around increases the sexual drive
Sure.
or desire or what have you.
Yeah, it's like get Karma Sutra
Yeah, totally.
about it.
And I think it also could have, also given our, way to access the protagonist seeing that in real time, because there's
Yeah.
something about, this person's an alien or creature or something not normal, but also you really are in the throes of desire. And does it turn you completely off, or does it make you be like, well, got to keep going because this is fun as shit?
Yeah.
I think it's a good question, but they clearly can't do it with the practical effects that they have.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's also, and we have no solid answers as to any of this is in Bill's mind.
Mm-hmm.
Clarissa, this actress, it's like we've heard before, subtext is for cowards. She is mean girl, like cat who ate the cream with every single line. Like, there is no subtext for this character, which is why it's so weird when she like flips 180 and turns out she's like, "I love you" at the end, because she is so like painted to be a villain throughout this movie. She's a sex pot. Like, she is a honey trap.
Yeah. Her mother comes home. Oh, by the way, Shauna and her friend are sitting in Shauna's car outside of Clarissa's house, like spying on Bill, and Shauna's crying. And her friend is very funny because her friend is like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. Clarissa's such a bitch, but I wonder what they're getting up to in there." And Shauna's being like, "Will you shut the fuck up?"
Yeah. Oh, look, there's someone approaching. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, and then we see like somebody come in on Bill and Clarissa start to go to fucking again, and it is Mom. So this is Mrs. Carlin from the large woman that we saw at the beach. Clarissa is like, out, mother. Like, I hate you.
Yeah,
What dumb thing are you gonna say now, dumb mom?
big dumb mom.
And mother just starts coughing into her hand as Bill has extended his hand to handshake. And mom just coughs up a hairball like a cat and
And hands it
hands
to
it
him.
to Bill.
What do you make of this? This character is what even this character is like from another planet.
Yeah. I they don't ever really explain Mrs. Carlin. Like what's
No.
her deal? Like is she someone who do they take like human people and convert them into their race or alien? Are you that race from the get-go and that there are just so few humans left? Is she actually part of the alien race, but she just is just played as an ineffectual woman, like she has mental health issues?
Like my theory is that she is of society
Hmm.
because clearly her daughter Clarissa is invited to the party.
Yeah.
She can get into the party. She's of society, but like I get the feeling that it's like a shunting gone wrong.
Okay.
It has a bit of that like, this is kind of a classic of, uh, like Dickens and think of like the Lillian Hellman play, The Little Foxes of like people who are of high society, but have or either for one reason or another don't quite fit in. And for her, it's like she's like something went wrong
Yeah.
in her coming out party, and she was left kind of like with half a brain.
Yeah.
Because we know it's like this sort of disgusting pile of human goo, and then you walk out of it, and she like walked away not right.
Yeah, because you come out of those piles of goo slightly different, like we'll see with
Yeah.
Judge Carter later.
So
Um,
technically, she's rich. She has the address. She
mhm.
lives in Beverly Hills. She has a daughter who is in society, but she's not, she's kind of like the crazy cat lady
Yeah.
of society. She's a bit of a Miss Havisham, sort of like she lives on the fringe outsides of society.
I think that makes a ton of sense. I I I did like the the way in which we set up the character of Clarissa's mother also being an outcast of society,
Yeah.
and that Clarissa sort of despises her for that because
Yeah.
Clarissa's
Yeah.
of two minds, right? Like one, she's a teenager. She wants to fit in with all of her
She wants to
friends.
climb that social
She
ladder.
she absolutely wants to, but just like her mother, even though she resents her mother for being an outcast, she takes that from her mother. Some of the things we
Yeah.
resent about our parents are qualities that we take on, good or bad.
Yeah.
We resent qualities that are brilliant and lovely in our parents when we're that age. And so I
And I
think
think,
that's really
yeah.
fascinating because she's going to rebel against society too. Clarissa is.
Yeah, she's because like I think because she has seen the way her mother is part of society but shunned for society. She's developed empathy
Yeah.
for people of a lower social class.
Uh huh. So next day, Shauna breaks up with Bill, being like, was she a good fuck? And spikes her promise ring or whatever she's
Yeah,
got there. Bill had also found a blow up doll labeled Clarissa in his
yeah,
Jeep.
with a Ken doll inside of it.
Yeah. Oh my God. I want to, this again with the freaky fucking tableau scene when he walks in to
Yeah,
his house. It's his parents like half naked with Jenny. Dad's in there rubbing
yeah.
Jenny's shoulders. The whole
Well,
room is
they're
like
like they're in
velveteen.
Marabou. Yeah, it's like Fredericks of Hollywood
Yeah.
silk bathrobes.
Yeah. Not velveteen, like sateen. Yeah.
Yeah,
Silk. And
Marabou. There's like feathers everywhere.
he's carrying that doll and he just chucks it onto the bed, kind of thinking maybe Jenny did it
Yeah.
and Jenny, while being half naked with her dad rubbing her shoulders, is like,
Uh-huh.
oh, what a disgusting thing to bring into your parents' bedroom.
Right? Oh my God. You're like, this poor guy. Like the shit that is getting under his skin is the wrong thing at the wrong time, and
Yeah.
it's keeping him from seeing what the fuck is actually going on in this movie.
Yeah. And this is where he starts getting into fight back Bill, right? Like he
Yeah.
is like, you guys, telling his parents, you all disgust me. And dad's being like,
Yeah.
don't be disrespectful to your mother. He's like, why don't you fuck off?
Yeah.
He's like, don't say the F word to your father. He's like, I can say whatever I want. I'm moving out. Fuck y'all. And this
Butthead.
butthead. Yeah, fuck off,
Oh my
butthead.
God.
Okay. I want to talk about Blanchard's funeral
Yeah.
because at first, when I watched this scene as it's starting, what they have done is very clear that the set of this is a very normal Protestant
Yeah.
Christian church.
Hmm.
They've replaced the cross on the front wall, the back
Hmm.
wall, with a Star of David, but it's done in the same sort of way. And it's not to say that you wouldn't have temple looking like this or a synagogue looking like this, but uh it is very clearly like church pews and
Yeah, I know,
churchy
right?
things, and the whole
Yeah.
thing is arranged like Christian style. And the other thing is this is an open casket funeral,
I know, right?
which is I'm not going to say there's never been a Jewish person to have an open casket funeral, but it is pretty inherent in Judaism that that is not a thing you do because it's about the modesty of the deceased.
Yeah.
And was annoyed with that of like, could they have gotten one Jewish person to work on this?
Is there a Jewish person in Hollywood? Can you tell me?
That's the problem with Hollywood. There's no Jewish
There's
people
no Jews in the
working in
filmmaking
film.
business.
I I realized much later by the end of the film and thinking about it later, this was so deliberate.
Yeah.
This is deliberately like this is deliberately mocking, not mocking. Um, just what this signifies to me is the fact that Blanchard is the same as Bill in
Yeah.
that his Jewish family or whatever
Hmm. Hmm.
are also part of society,
Yeah.
probably,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that there's no one is Jewish. They're just making it look Jewish. And because there's no Jews,
They
the
just sort of
people
do like
claiming to be Jews are part of this
a
society along with the
half-handed sort of
Christians.
Christian version of Judaism.
Yeah, and it's so you have what it's playing with is rather than like the Soros conspiracy or the lizard people conspiracy, these
Hmm.
anti-Semitic conspiracies that we place on the elites all the time. I think what you are dealing with here is like Zionist Christian elites, right?
Yeah.
Like um, billionaire, rich Christian, Donald Trumpy, Ronald Reagan Republican elites.
Yeah.
And these are people who do not know what a Jewish funeral looks like. And the filmmakers know that they wouldn't know that. And thus had an open casket Jewish funeral, which I thought was remarkable. I'm giving them a lot of credit. Maybe the filmmakers
That
aren't
is,
Jewish.
I mean, Jeffrey, that
Uh
is a
huh.
lot of credit for this movie. I
Uh,
think it was more about the fact that the director wanted one of the characters to touch the body
yes,
and have the face cave in.
he
Because like
definitely needed that.
the director has said that this movie was literally an excuse to do crazy special effects, and the plot he just sort of wrote in the details.
I'm gonna agree with you on that. I do think I am giving a lot of I think I'm
I mean,
giving a lot of credit.
I love the double hall of mirrors thing you've got going on here.
Uh-huh.
But really, I think it was like, hey, like, and there's something so creepy about like these two guys, these two young boys, actually kind of having a conversation. Which I gotta say, like the scenes between Bill and Milo here, not later when they're on their like little mystery machine detective movie scene in which they literally just roll up to each other, go, something crazy's going on, and then they
Uh-huh.
walk away from each other. But in
Uh-huh.
this scene, they're actually having a rather poignant conversation about death.
Hmm.
And it feels sincere. This idea of like, it looks like he doesn't look like him. It like it's someone that we know, that we've known our whole life, but it doesn't look like him. Now we know in the context of this movie, it's because there's a giant conspiracy, sex monster society conspiracy but it is really more about these teenagers coming to terms with more mortality,
Hmm.
about what happens what happens when you die, what happens to your body, what happens to your soul when you die. Your soul leaves, and they're trying to they're actually having a real human moment. And I love this moment in which Milo goes, well, fuck it, I need to touch him to make sure it's real.
Yeah.
And what is a totally normal impulse turns out to be subverted, much like the apple in the beginning that's sort of like filled with worms.
Hmm.
His face caves in.
Yeah.
And they write it off to, well, I guess there was a lot of reconstructive surgery they had to do because of the car accident.
Yeah.
But it plants in our brains as an audience member that there is something mysterious always going on with
Hmm.
this fucking world. So, like, not even the dead are dead in
Yeah.
this movie,
Yeah.
which we will literally learn is what happens.
Yeah. I agree with all of that, and I think there's a yeah, I just found myself very going back to like, did they do this intentionally? And I had this is a deeper film crit question or lit
Oh,
crit
yeah.
question, which is, can you accidentally do something profound,
Of
like through
course.
your ignorance? And I feel like they did
Of course.
something, probably not intentionally, but accidentally super profound.
Yeah.
But Marty approaches, Preppy Marty
Yes.
approaches and says, it's imperative that I talk to you about your parents, about him, about society. Meet me tonight at Franklin Canyon.
Again, just Bill just believes everybody. He's like a little labradoodle of a human,
Hmm.
little golden retriever boy. He's like, well, oh, okay.
It's a setup, Bill.
Yeah.
He goes down to Franklin Canyon. He, climbs down into the canyon. Milo
Milo has
tails him
followed
secretly.
him.
Yeah.
Thank God somebody's keeping an eye on somebody in this movie.
Milo is so interesting, like the character of Milo here, because I think in a traditional horror film, you have the funny sidekick, and
Yeah,
Milo's
sure.
funny, well, because
Milo's the
we'll
funny
learn
side.
he's
Yeah.
the one who's been putting all the Ken dolls and blow up
Yep.
dolls and shrunken heads in Bill's shit. But but Milo's very smart and very
Yeah.
helpful. And in a lot of horror movies, that person doesn't live. That person who's
Yeah.
trying to help gets fucked up.
Yeah.
And he's gonna manage to spoiler, he's gonna manage to get out of this thing. And
Yeah.
I find that really interesting. That's it's a different way of handling the horror genre.
It's also interesting, like Milo's socioeconomic status is never quite said, like it's never quite on the nose.
Uh-huh.
But I do know, I didn't clock this, but according to IMDb, he is wearing an Eat the Rich t-shirt at one point. So you
Oh,
get the idea that he is the smart kid that is not that's like he's the scholarship kid. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Uh-huh.
Like he's the one that is so smart, it's undeniable he belongs
Mm-hmm.
in this upper echelon, but he was not born into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's able to like see like when he's at the orgy later, like he is like objectively standing back and watching it and knows not to fucking get involved, not to make waves, don't try to rescue your friend in the middle of the angry mob orgy.
Yeah.
Like it's really interesting, this character of Milo, and I think he's such an underutilized character in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
which is important because we can't have smart characters just running around
No.
spilling truths and telling things, because we need ambiguity. We need to keep all the balls in the air of, is Bill like cracking up? Is Bill 100% right? Is Bill 50% right? Like we need that ambiguity in this film.
Yeah. And Milo is milk toast. I mean, that's why
Yeah.
he gets overlooked. Bill
Yeah.
is special because I'm talking to think because
Yeah.
piecing together how you just phrased all of this, and when we were talking about Mrs. Carlin earlier,
Yeah.
there is something about, you want to take on the good qualities of the people you consume if you're part of this
Yeah.
weird creature society people. And the thing about Bill is that he's handsome, he's
Yeah.
athletic,
Yep.
And so there's a eugenicist sort of thing happening where
Yeah.
like I want the best qualities of the best people, and Milo is milk toast. Like he's
Yeah.
an average kid. He's not.
Yeah.
He might be super tall. He looks 7 foot next to Bill, but I think he's like
Right.
neither tall nor
But
short, nor they're handsome nor
he's not
ugly.
running for class president. He's the like secretary that administer, like he's
Yeah,
easily overlooked,
yeah,
but he's still part of it. Like he's
yeah,
still in the game, but not an exciting part of the game.
yeah. But Bill gets down into the canyon, finds like a nice Volvo car with its hazards on, and then he gets the door open and finds Marty with his throat cut open.
Okay, this is the only blood. This
Yeah,
is a little bit bloody,
yeah.
but it's very brief.
And anyways, also a masked man comes after,
Rustling in the bushes.
rustling in the bushes. There's a big
There's
chase.
a
Uh
sweatshirt is taken from a tree that is clearly of the color palette of Ferguson.
uh-huh. Yeah.
Clearly Miami Vice colored.
Yes. And after Bill tries chasing them to figure out what's happening, but they get away and he runs to Clarissa's house because I guess Clarissa lives on the edge of the
But
canyon.
it's weird. It's like he just runs out of the canyon and he's like at Clarissa's house, which is
Uh-huh.
again like so shocking. Like it's so creepy. Like this movie has more in common with like Rosemary's Baby and Chinatown of just
Uh-huh.
like wibbledy wobbledy like things that are coincidences that seem planned and things that are planned that seem like coincidences
Uh-huh.
throughout, which I fucking love that as like it's almost a film noir.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Is it a coincidence that the hot mean girl who he's now just started fucking is right next to the meetup spot? Like it seems like a
Mm-hmm.
coincidence. Like literally, he goes to her front door and he's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I live here, dumbass. What are you doing here?" But like just things like that, like coincidences like that, which I think are so important to this sort of mind fuck of a film.
He's like, "Let me use your phone." He calls the cops. They go down there, and then when he gets down there, it is not a Volvo. It's just a 1970s something Ford
Yeah,
LTD.
yeah, it's like some Lincoln. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's nothing in it. And
Well, there's scraps of red fabric. Again, it's
Mhm.
like just close enough to what he saw. Like it's not that there's no car at all.
There is
There's
a
no,
car. Yeah.
there is a car and there's, scraps of red fabric with like oil on them and stuff like that. And he's enough to say, well, clearly you were just excitable. You're an excitable teenager.
Yeah, and it's Officer Peyton Manning there and being like,
Yeah.
"What are you on? What drugs are you on?" He threatens to arrest him, saying, "Does it get boring being that rich, Bill?"
Yeah.
And because Clarissa is there, I think she manages to kind of by her being there, I think
Her
they avoid
presence.
her
Yeah. Yeah.
presence is
Yeah.
and to be like, call the dogs off, and they say,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Bill, next time I see you, it'll be a lot less pleasant. And it will be. It will be
And it
way
will
less
be.
pleasant. Bill so there's another student body president debate.
Oh my God. Enough of this. Bill, what Bill is like decided this is the time
Uh-huh.
that I'm going to tell the school that I am part of a society freaky sexual conspiracy.
That killed
Um,
Martin.
yep, they killed Martin. They killed Blanchard. Um, I have no evidence. You're just a bunch of crazy teenagers, and I love they keep cutting back to like the sort of the your average students, and it's I don't know, just so funny watching Bill just dig a grave on
Uh-huh.
stage.
Yeah. And then Martin shows up late because he was like, and Martin, who has perfect attendance, is never late, is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not here because they killed him. But then Martin shows up and he's like, sorry, I had car trouble. And then kind of like
Did I
rubs his
miss
neck a little bit.
anything? I know, right?
But
It's so over the top, so silly.
Milo, after the scene, he
Yeah.
and Bill out in the parking lot of the school, Milo is like, listen, I tailed you last night, and I am
I saw
this
some
whole
freaky shit.
thing is there's some freaky shit because I saw Ted and Marty, and then
Yeah.
they brought in this old Ford and took the Volvo out, and so
Yeah.
I saw them basically
Yeah.
undo the crime scene you think you saw.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm sorry, man. I was the one putting all of these like the shrunken head doll and shit. I just was like, I don't know, just teasing you.
And what he says, like, our friendship only is like, you're only friends when you want to be friends.
Uh-huh.
Like, besides that basketball little session of hoops we did in the very beginning of the movie, they have not actually talked to each other the entire time. And clearly because Bill is going through some weird shit.
Yeah.
But I kind of love this, that like that this reckoning, like, it's important that Bill kind of gets that he has allies.
Yeah.
And what sucks about this, what's so frustrating about this movie, is that he's going to take that ally and immediately throw it away.
Yeah.
Throw it away.
Yeah. 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 Bill doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And what Milo has to say is so important because it's like you know, I know you're going through shit, which I fully understand means we can't hang out as much, but you can
Yeah,
also
sure.
tell me what you're going through
Right.
and just know that I can hear it.
Because if Bill had said, like, think about all the people he's trying to explain his crazy, my parents and my
Mm-hmm.
sister are sex aliens. He's tried to explain it to his psychiatrist, who
Mm-hmm.
is recommended by his parents, his sister, kind of, who he's already kind of questioning that. Like, Milo seems like the perfect person to be like, okay, we got to talk about what's going on here
Mm-hmm.
and about how all these things are interconnected. But he doesn't.
So Milo's job now is basically going to be kind of tailing Bill and hanging
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Um, Milo does have some money because Milo drives a BMW,
That's true. Yes, that is very true.
but Milo's hanging back, watching whatever's happening, and so he watches Bill go back to his own house.
Mhm.
Again, another walking in. There's a full tableau of mom, dad, sister, Judge Carter, and Dr. Cleveland are all
Yeah.
there. And then EMTs show up and they
Yeah.
basically grab Bill and drug him and take him away in the ambulance with Dr. Cleveland saying, you know how I hate to give you drugs, Bill. And Milo has to follow them all the way to the hospital where he gets the runaround at reception about where
Yep.
Bill's room is.
I love this little bit of misdirect because there's a body on a gurney
Uh-huh.
with brown hair, and Milo is about ready to pull the sheet off of it. And then the nurse is like, "Oh, yeah, you can't touch that. And by the way, your friend is dead."
Yeah. Yeah.
But
If
I
you want to
love
see
this.
him, you got
It's
to go to the morgue.
go to the morgue. But I love this. It's like it's one of those things of like showing, not telling. Show
Mm-hmm.
me there's a conspiracy without telling me there's a conspiracy. Like, that body probably was nothing. It was
Mm-hmm.
probably just somebody else that has nothing to do with the plot of this movie. But when there's so many loose conspiracy threads waving around in this movie, it's so easy. Like, it's so easy for the filmmaker to be like, is this a thing? What
Yeah.
about this? What about this?
Yeah.
What about this?
And so he goes back outside to his car, and parked next to him is Bill's Jeep.
How'd that get there?
Now we cut to Bill in a hospital bed, so clearly
Yeah.
still alive, not at the morgue. And he busts out of that hospital room, unhooks all his switches,
But
goes
not before
running out of
having
there.
some, like, having some weird sex doctor hallucination of
Yeah,
like
that was
people.
weird.
Again, it's like he's having like almost more like premonitions,
Uh-huh.
is actually more accurate rather than paranoia.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, that
but
he's got
nothing.
a telepathy sort of thing happening, an
Yeah.
ESP type of bit.
But he busts out, gets in that Jeep. And this is where I'm like, what is going on? What is your motivation here? He's like, they can't catch crazy Bill Whitney. I'm doing it. And Milo's like, dude, this is a setup.
Yeah.
They they brought you your Jeep. they're sucking you in, man. He's like, nobody can suck me in. Not no way, not no how.
Yeah. And he's like, Bill says, I'm not paranoid because all my fears are real. Come on, let's go.
So I'm just gonna jump right into you know what that means? That means you should leave for Las Vegas right now.
Uh huh.
Like you have a Jeep. This is where I get into like escape cult mode, where I'm like, you have your wallet. Cell phones aren't a thing. You have, I don't know, figure something out. You
If
have
you have
an
a
ally.
wallet and car keys,
Yeah,
just
like
get the fuck out of
you
there.
need to get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm. So they don't though. He's going full attack. Like
Yeah,
they know Bill's personality is to
yeah,
fight. They
yeah, yeah,
know
yeah.
that he's easy to tip to anger. He's easy to tip to violence. And that's the way he always deals with it. And even after Milo's talk with him about we can work through things differently, they've managed to tip him back towards anger because that's how they're
Mhm.
going to trap him. He goes first to Clarissa's house and starts to attack her to be like, you fucking,
Yeah,
yeah, hitting her and being like, you're one of them, you fucker. And
yeah.
she's like, Billy, things are not what they seem.
I
Like you
love that.
don't know what you're getting into. And she's like, why don't you stay here tonight? And he's like, nah, that shit's not gonna work.
Yeah, don't try being sexy with me because I know you're just gonna flip your body around sideways.
Ah, he does, man, he's got it good and he doesn't know it.
Yep.
He he hauls back out into his Jeep, hauls back home, and Milo's got to just follow him as quickly as possible. But then Milo, this is one of the few kind of jump scare sort of moments where
Yeah.
like Milo's head gets grabbed
Yeah.
from by the hair from behind. You're like, oh shit, here it comes, Milo, you're fucked. And it turns out it's Mrs. Carlin in his back
Yeah.
seat, and
And
he's like,
I just love that Miss Carlin is obsessed with hair.
yes,
She loves cat hair. She loves human hair. She loves toupees. She loves hair.
mm-hmm,
That's her kink. That's her fetish.
yeah,
That and metallic eyeshadow. Those are
yes,
her two kinks.
yeah.
And I am living for it.
I love Milo so much, and especially in this moment, because Milo recognizes she is does not mean harm.
Yeah.
And
Like
he's like,
she's eccentric, she's weird, she's not even verbal,
no,
but she is not evil, she's not malicious, she is
no,
not she is a human. She has like it's really interesting, that idea of empathy in this movie,
yeah,
of like who deserves it, like we were saying in the beginning, of like satire of like good, evil. This is the binary.
uh-huh,
And it's really interesting how this movie plays with the idea of not just good and evil, but like who deserves our trust, who
yeah,
deserves our love, who
yeah,
deserves like it really is. It's nudging towards Stephen King territory.
yeah.
You
And
know,
oftentimes in pretty simple storylines, we conflate the phrase good guy with hero.
sure,
The hero and the good guy are one and the same.
yeah, yeah,
But if we just talk about what those two phrases mean, Bill is the hero of this
yes,
movie, and Milo is the good guy.
yeah, yeah.
So they get back to the house. We kind of go through a similar shot of
I
our
love
opening
this.
scene.
Yeah, the curtains, like the empty curtains on the top of the staircase. Bill coming in through, the sideways tilted, like sort of Alfred Hitchcock, everything is askew
Hmm.
camera work.
He goes into the kitchen,
Gets the Does
gets
he get the
gets the
knife? He just I don't
he
think he
does
gets the
get the
knife.
knife. He
He
does get
does get the
does
knife
get a
this time.
chef's knife, but differently, he goes to the sink and
That's right.
just ravenously chugs a glass of water. Which I kind of feel this. I thought this was a really
Yeah.
great. I felt the dehydration in this
Yeah, I know,
moment.
right? Yeah.
So he
And when he keeps hearing like tittering, like little laughing,
uh-huh.
shh, 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 like just always in the other room.
which is so well set up because just in the
Yeah.
hospital we had the hallucinatory moment
Mhm.
there. We had the opening scene where there's always kind of some laughter or something happening. Even the audio tape that Blanchard had provided kind of has a similar sound of things. So we're used to hearing it and it not being real.
Yeah.
And so in this moment, this is very we will find out in just a second that it is absolutely really happening in his house, but he
Yeah.
doesn't know it. And he thinks his parents are just getting home and he is gonna surprise them. But what
Yeah.
ends up happening is they get home, lights come on. It is a reverse surprise party with everyone in society there, and Officer Peyton Manning hooks him around the collar with one of those like alligator grabber things,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a ring at the end of a
Like,
pole
yeah,
that you
yeah, yeah,
grab it
yeah.
by the neck, which I think is really interesting that he's being dealt with not with handcuffs or a taser,
No.
things we use to deal with humans, but a device we use to wrangle animals.
For animals, it's like what cattle, like what you would use to, I mean, if you're really, kind of barbaric, but
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, like he's literally being shuffled around this party like an animal.
Yeah. And so this is where we everybody kind of unmasks, so to speak, in the
Welcome to
sense
the
of
last act.
yeah. And he looks at his mother, Bill does, and he's like, "Who are you?" And she says, "Well, I'm not your mother." And Dad says, "Jesus, Bill, you were never one of us.
What?
You have to be born into society." And he mutters, "Alien scum." And
Yes.
Dr. Cleveland says, "No, no, no, no. We're not from outer space.
We're not from another planet.
We've been here as long as you have. It's just a matter of good breeding. Ted will even say later, we have sucked the life force out of scumbag class like you for
Yeah.
years."
What's like I think somebody says earlier, there's always a society, there's the part of society that makes the rules and the part of society that must follow the rules.
Uh-huh.
And the psychiatrist also says, descended from a long line from Caesar to Genghis Khan, the idea of a ruling class.
Yeah. Hmm. So Milo and Mrs. Carlin have pulled up outside and tried to figure out what's going on. Clarissa is also showing up too. All these
Yeah.
people drive nice cars. She's got a Porsche 911.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
She's got her little like 80s party dress going.
The gardener with the plate of snails is at the
It's
party.
inexplicable.
Uh-uh.
Still not never explained why there's slugs there, but sure, why not?
Uh-huh. And Judge Carter is there, so symbolizing kind of like the highest level of
Yes.
Washington leadership, right? Like we
Yeah.
get the sense he must be a federal judge, maybe
Mhm.
even a Supreme Court justice. Who knows? Because
What?
he works in Washington. We know because he tells Ted Ferguson like, "You're a truly remarkable young man. We have an internship for you in Washington." Ted's like, making it
Oh,
big.
yes. Yeah.
But first, we got to bring in our special guest, and the EMTs show up with somebody wrapped up in a white cloak, and they unveil it to reveal that is Blanchard,
Oh, right.
still alive, and he is the appetizer. He is
He's
the
the first course.
yes, um, preemie. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bill is gonna be secondi. He's
Yep.
preemie, and we're gonna start with Blanchard, and Ted's like, watch what happens to David Blanchard there, because that'll be you next. I I lost track of words to describe
Mm-hmm.
what they do
Mm-hmm.
here, but let's try to describe what happens in a shunting, shall we?
What happens in a shunting? Well, there's a lot of lube.
A
There's a lot of people,
lot of lube.
lots of J lube.
Uh-huh.
Um, Essentially, the rich people, they look like they're kissing
They strip
slash
down too.
strip
Yeah.
down. Oh yeah, everybody's kind of stripped down to like boxers and like like undershirts. It does again. It feels very like Weekend at Epstein's mansion
Mm-hmm.
kind
Mm-hmm.
of feelings. Um, but like where this movie delves into horror is that they're not just like fucking. They're not eating people. They're like absorbing people. into their own body.
Yes.
It's like the liquefaction of the flesh.
Yeah.
So the judge, essentially, well, one, he takes a little bite off of Blanchard,
Uh-huh.
and goes, ugh, and then, puts his fist inside of him and goes all the way through, and so his fingers come out of Blanchard's mouth.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And at this point was when I texted you and was like, is it cake or is it the shunt?
Yep.
Because I want to see a business that
Uh-huh.
makes hyper realistic shunt cakes.
I do too. I need to do have all these like fancy cake designers, has anyone done like a true body horror
I
cake?
know. I looked up shunt cakes is available. No one has taken shunt cakes on Instagram, as far as I know.
Uh-huh.
But like, there's got to be somebody out there that does like super realistic horror cakes.
Interesting. Okay, so I did see there's something called Business Insider has an article about Conjurer's Kitchen makes gory
Okay.
and anatomically correct
Yes.
cakes. Did you find this one too?
No, I did not. I did not look that hard because I
Okay.
was more living in my own dream of creating this business rather than looking at what's actually out there.
Okay, the thing about Conjurer's Kitchen, oh, these are gorgeous. Disturbing Delights is what they
Yes.
have. Okay, so Conjurer's Cakes or Conjurer's Kitchen, they have it's like anatomically correct gore. So it's a lot of like stuff that looks like
Parts.
an autopsy sort
Yeah.
of
But
thing,
it's cake.
but it's cake.
Oh my God. I
Oh, they
want
did
it
one
so
that's a
bad.
Hello Kitty cake, so it's the full just body of Hello Kitty laid out
Yeah.
flat, but then the inside's cut open to reveal intestines and things of the middle.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Um,
good. I'm glad to know that there are horror cakes out there. But while I was watching it, this is all I could think about was, is it cake or is it shunt? Is it shunt cakes?
there's definitely fondant involved in whatever
There's a
we're doing
lot
in
of
this
fondant.
moment.
Yeah. It's
And
like it is
uh,
so it really confounds the mind what the fuck you're looking at. There's like a harsh, almost like suntan red lighting, like everything is in, like everything in this movie has been so 80s.
yes.
Pastel, gray, like pretty, like it's sunny California. And then this last scene, everything is in like heat lamp
Mm-hmm.
lighting.
Mm-hmm.
It's so strange,
It is
so
strange.
shocking.
And it's disorienting and I think in a perfectly designed way because
Mhm.
when this scene ends and we have the escape,
Yeah.
it's full daylight
It's
outside.
daylight. Yeah. Well,
And
the party goes all night.
hmm and it also like kind of lets you know just how disorienting it is to be not only inside society metaphorically, but
Yeah.
literally in that house too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the shunting of
The
Blanchard. And
shunt.
all the while Blue Danube is playing. So it's kind of
Yes.
got a little bit of that Clockwork Orange type of
Yeah,
vibe
yeah, yeah,
too,
yeah,
like where you
yeah.
play beautiful symphonic
Like high
music over the
society. Yeah,
type.
like something classical and then watch something horrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, everybody's like face is stretching over his
Yeah.
body, and they're all kind of forming. So the thought that I was having here is that they all kind of all of the society kind of comes together as one big gloopy
Yes.
gloppy mess,
It's like
and then
taffy.
when the body's fully consumed, they all separate
Yes.
and they come back up just covered in lube.
Yeah. Just kind of going, oh my God. Which is I mean, it's hard to watch this and not think about all these conspiracy theories about like what really goes on behind the closed doors of power.
Uh-huh.
And, especially like now that we're having like such bigger conversations about like people being coerced, especially women being coerced and groomed and, all this sort of thing. And this movie shows that it has like throughout this judge character is like petting on the sister the entire time.
Uh-huh.
Like we see him getting out of this shunting covered in lube. There's like, a 18-looking-year-old girl getting out with him. Like, it's really hard to see this and not go to the conspiracy theory place.
Uh-huh.
But what I think is amazing about this film is that it takes, conspiracy theories of that ilk and takes it to the next level, takes it to the next psychological level of, they're like, okay, yes, we're not going to talk about the facts. We're going to show something that is so abstract,
Uh-huh.
surreal, that you're going to walk away feeling dirty just from having witnessed this.
Yeah. I felt very dirty having witnessed this.
Yeah. And I want a cake made out of it.
Outside, Milo and Mrs. Carlin basically attack Officer Peyton Manning, and Milo
Yeah.
steals the cop's outfit. He's he's like fully like attacking him and stealing his outfit while she's just grabbing at his hair, which turns out to be a hairpiece.
Yeah.
Um,
Gags. Because and at this
gags.
point, like, we need like after the first appetizer of the shunting, like, we
Mhm.
kind of need something that is so slapstick comedy.
Mm-hmm. So now we've got. Okay, hold on. Let me back up just a second. Just jumping free. Okay. So Bill has managed to bust himself free through Clarissa's help. Like
Clarissa
Clarissa,
lets him go. Yeah.
he lets him go. The crowd tries to stop him. He slips out upstairs, and it's Dr. Cleveland coming after him with the big hook thing. And
He's
Bill
got like a
slips.
Joker
Yeah,
smile.
Joker smile, which I think Tim Burton's Batman came out in the same year.
Yeah, actually.
So
Yeah.
that I found that really interesting.
Yeah.
But uh he slips into his parents' bedroom, and then there's his
Oh, Lord.
mom.
There's hands coming out where her legs should be.
Yeah, so she has her legs now they look like giant burly bear man
Forearms. Yeah.
forearms, like giant hairy man's thick forearms as legs and hands. And so
And she's like, oh, it's so sweet. You came up for me. Your mother.
and she walks toward him on these hand feet, and then when she gets right up to him, Jenny's head pops out of her crotch upside down into Bill's face. She's like, hey, you got any Oedipal fantasies? You just let me know.
Sure. So mother, daughter.
Uh-huh.
And then over on the bed, there is dad whose face is literally coming out of an ass.
Yes. Yes. It is butt
And
cheeks
he,
spread wide, and
yeah,
instead of a rectum, there is a
there's
man's
his face. And he keeps making jokes about it. He's like, well, I guess I am a butthole. Ridiculous.
I have a hard time understanding why these three just went off to the bedroom together. I guess they
Sure.
only wanted the first course, and then they were like, let's all go touch each other weird.
Well,
Or
I guess they didn't want, well, they were, I guess they were waiting for the second course with their son or something.
yeah, I
Who
don't
knows?
know. I don't know why they're
They're,
up there. It just felt like a scene that they wanted to have in there, but didn't have any reason to
yeah.
do anyway. Whatever. This scene happens is all I can tell you.
This is what happens. And of course, Bill runs out because he's terrified of these monstrosities, but he forgets that the doctor is still there. The doctor manages to hook him by the foot and drags him downstairs.
And Bill is trying to save Clarissa, who's in a fight with Ted, because
Yeah.
Ted is none too happy that she is taking Bill's side in all of this. And basically, this comes down to Bill and Ted. Bill, like, basically saying, like,
Yeah.
we're going to man to man.
Yeah. Which I think is
Let's
so
have a
funny
showdown.
that like after this whole thing, it really comes down to an after school meet me at the flagpole kind of mentality.
Which I like because it fits what Bill's doing, because Bill thinks he can win through fighting.
Yeah.
And he can't, not conventional fighting.
But what? This idea of like, okay, here's an upper elite society that controls everything. They control the
Uh-huh.
police, they control the government, they control the paramedics, they control the hospitals, they control the schools, they control everything.
Uh-huh.
And you think if you beat up their golden boy,
Uh-huh.
these 90 people who literally run everything are just going to let you walk out?
Yeah.
And that's what happens.
Yep.
But what? No, man. He'd be
No.
like chopped up in little tiny pieces and buried at the bottom of a river.
Yeah.
You know? It's and that's what happens. Like there is this, like they set it up like it's a prize fight, and the judge is like, hailing from the, Ted the Tycoon Ferguson, son of millionaires, and then this guy
Bill the
from
Bastard Whitney.
Bill the Bastard Whitney, son of who the fuck cares. And
It's
and then they have an underwear fight
mm-hmm.
because they're still in the middle of an orgy.
Yeah.
So, and it's like Ferguson he's got a lot of roundhouse kicks. This is the era of a lot of Karate Kid kind of
Yeah, yeah,
moves.
yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of that going on. And
And
it's in the middle of fight when like Bill is kind of down, he's like just getting the shit beaten out of him. Like he sees Milo being taken away by some crazy orgy people. He sees Clarissa, just, all this sort of thing. And somehow he gets that second wind.
uh-huh.
And
Well, well,
Ferguson.
also Mrs. Carlin
Oh, that's right.
manages to attack Ted to subdue him for just a
Yes.
second.
Yeah.
But he gets her off of him and basically is like, it's like, game's over, Billy. I told you we don't lose.
Yeah.
And he leans in and
kisses him.
like full, like passionate, you got to
Like,
tilt your head sideways to
Yeah.
get lip to lip. And Bill sees Ted's body start turning wibbly wobbly, right?
Yeah, like all jellified.
So he grabs Ted's wibbly wobbly rubber arm, shoves it up Ted's own butthole,
Yeah.
or as you and I would call it, shunts him.
Or
And
shunts him.
he shunts Ted, gets the hand all the way up into Ted's skull,
Uh-huh.
grabs Ted's face from the inside, and then pulls it all back out, turning Ted inside out.
Yep.
Just slow clap. Just
Ed, listen, not since Howling 2 when that bat face fucked that guy to death. This is it, man. And I like when he turns, it's like, we've seen all these like disgusting, sexy kind of body morph scenes. But this is different. This is like he turns him inside out, and one he looks like a tent. Like there's you can't tell what anything is. There's no organs. It's kind of filled with like what looks to be like slugs.
Uh-huh.
And it's like rotten inside. And literally a record scratches. And everyone goes, "Oh no. Oh no."
I thought this was interesting because their reaction to Ted's death felt inhuman. And you realize they're a different. Dr. Cleveland earlier says we're a different race, but I'm like, you're a different species.
Yeah.
You're not a different race. You're a different species. And maybe those are interchangeable. Because a lot of times we talk about the alien race in other sci-fi movies, but I'm like, oh, it's not race though. I mean, like, race is all human, and you're not.
Yeah, we're all humans, and we behave according to human
and
geometry.
Yeah, and in the same way that I don't expect my cat to visibly go through any form of mourning if something horrible happens.
Yeah.
These people aren't reacting in a mournful way. In fact, our final kind of beat is Judge Carter, turning to Dr. Cleveland and is like, looks like I might have an opening in Washington next summer. Know what I mean?
They don't care.
They don't care.
They're more surprised than they are saddened.
Yes, correct. They are surprised. They're a little shocked. Like, oh my we God. Don't lose.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So they kind of need a beat to sort of, it's not like they let Bill go. It's more just they can't, they're trying to
Fathom.
process what
Yeah.
just happened.
And in that moment, Bill, Milo, and Clarissa manage to escape.
Yeah, the only one who really tries to stop them is Bill's quote unquote dad.
Yeah.
It's like, you'll never get away with this. And Bill just punches him out and says, don't count on it, butthead.
Oh my God.
And they make a mad dash away in Bill's Jeep and run off. Question: what happened to Mrs. Carlin?
Unknown. She probably just like got distracted by something and, you know, like played with a cat toy in the corner.
That was really weird that we didn't resolve what happened to her there.
Nope.
Okay. All right.
Well, I mean, we have no explanation as to why she's there in the first place. So why would we need to
No.
resolve nothing?
No, we really don't. But the end. Shall we rate this film?
Yes, let's.
All right. How approachable? I'll start with approachability. How approachable is this movie if you're a horror movie squeamish? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being do not approach, 10 being easily approachable. I'd give Society like 2 greasy shunt cakes out of 10. Like, there's not much difference between a 1 and a 2 on this scale. Oh, but I was just thinking about like Hellraiser 2, right? Like that we just watched, which I
Yeah.
gave a 1 because it
Yeah.
is just as gloopy, gloppy,
Oh, yeah.
non-bloody, gory. But this movie has brighter, it's funny, like not funny, haha,
It's a
funny
horror
satire.
comedy.
Yeah. So there's something that feels a little bit more like, I don't know, it feels less like dark. It
Yeah.
is, most of it is bright, if absolutely disgusting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it, and it touches on dark subjects.
Uh-huh.
Like I was saying before, like it touches on some really dark societal subjects,
Yeah.
but does so in a way that is so abstract.
Yeah. Well, we've got gaslighting and incest,
Yeah.
almost like hallucinations, like borderline dissociation. Like you could
Yeah.
almost get into that, but not
Like
quite.
gang stalking.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then you add to that all the body horror that's happening.
yeah.
But yeah, institutional horror of cops,
Yeah.
medical
Mhm.
officials. Yeah, all of that is really unnerving. But so that's where I would be, like 2 out of 10 in terms of approachability. What about you, Cecil? To speak nothing of approachability, just as a horror movie, where do you place this?
Wait, what do I do with this movie,
What do you rate
Jeffrey?
this as?
I mean, as a horror film, this movie is wild
Uh-huh.
because it is kind of it's the greatest 80s practical horror movie that is so flawed. Like it's like as a film, it's pretty silly, not gonna lie.
Uh-huh.
Like it has more in common with like Beach Blanket Bingo than it does, but it also has more in common with The Thing and like David Cronenberg. So what do you do? So listen, as a horror film, this movie is real creepy, but also really funny and really campy. And
Mhm.
then if you can sit through that and you make it to the end of the movie and you don't go, holy shit, this is kind of what the best of what 80s practical movie effects can be in horror, then I think you will really enjoy this film. But I would say, I don't know, 8 out of 10 shunt cakes.
Sure.
Like it's not a great movie, but it's not a good movie, but it's a great movie. How about that?
Yeah, that's totally it. It's not good, but it is great. Well, let's figure out what movie we will watch next. Let's hope it is either good or great. You have a scare die, I have a style die. We'll roll those up and see what movie matches those two things. So, Cecil, if you roll a 1 on your scare die, our next movie scare is Isolation. 2, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. 3, Demons. 4, Mother Earth. 5, Cults. Or 6, Aliens. What is our next movie scare?
That's a 5.
Gonna get that cult movie about cults that
Yes.
we've always wanted. All right, we're gonna match up your cult with my style die, and we've got, if I roll a 1, our next movie has to be made in the Southern Hemisphere. If I roll a 2, it's got to be based on a true story or account. 3, wild card, whatever cult movie we want. 4, cult, meaning something that has a cult following. 5, something from the 1990s. Or 6, urban, something set in a city. What do I got here? So 4, we're gonna do cult. Oh
Cult,
shit.
cult.
Cult. We got the cult. How fun. I think we put those on the list at the same time. Okay, so you and I wrote down a couple of ideas that would fit movie about a cult that has a cult following. But we also have a Letterboxd account. We're Random Horror 9 over on Letterboxd. You can check out our lists over there and add comments to any of our lists where we put up the potential roles we might get. So we're going to check in and see what people had to say here too. So let's start with the ones that we wrote down, Cecil. And I'll tell you, I think I wrote some of these here. I put The Invitation on there, which is a 2015 film. I believe is this Karin Kusama? The Invitation. Who directed this? Um, this is definitely a movie called, yeah, this is Karin Kusama or Karen Kusama. Yeah, this is definitely slow burn, dreary horror sort of thing, but it's
Yeah,
definitely got a cult vibe. And does it have a cult following? I think it's very popular. I think it's very well known. I
sure.
don't think it was a huge hit when it was released, but I think it's had a lot of appreciation since.
Yeah, which is oftentimes the cult
Hmm.
success. Yeah.
Okay, here's one. This is part of the New French Extremity, Martyrs. Um,
Yes.
I mean, I think it fits both to a T.
Yeah.
Um, Joseph, our friend Joseph Fink, watched this movie recently and for the first time, and it's like it is unsettling
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah.
Have you seen this one?
I have not. I've been saving
Okay.
myself. I've been saving myself for the show.
So nice. I love that. I love our horror virginity at times.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Another one I put on here is a 2016 film called The Void,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
this
a
is a good one.
Lovecraftian thing.
And it's been a long time since I've seen this, but I definitely remember really liking this movie.
Another kind of like indie film that I think, got a lot of steam after it was released.
It's kind of like Lovecraft is so hard to do. Like, and for a while there were just bad Lovecraft on film, and this one kind of got it right
Hmm.
because it stayed as far away from Lovecraft as it could in many ways.
I think you put these on here. We have it's an Australian film, The Cars That Ate Paris.
I've always
Definitely a
been
cult
curious.
following.
Definitely a cult following. I've always been curious about this one. This is sort of the exploitation era of filmmaking, sort of like early Mad Max. And the idea is that there's like a society that, much like Mad Max, post-apocalyptic society that sort of lures people in the middle of a desert and then sort of traps them there. So it's a
Uh-huh.
car cult, like a post-apocalyptic car cult.
Yeah.
And I've never seen it, but it is one of those movies where it looks like the production design is bananas.
Having just watched Mad Max, the original
Oh,
Mad
the
Max
original,
film,
the
that's another
OG.
one that actually you could put on here.
Yeah,
Like it's cult or biker gang, but it is very
yeah,
culty. I mean, all of
yeah.
those movies definitely have some
Hmm.
cult of
Yeah, like
personality.
gangs that have some sort of religious, psycho
Hmm.
leader, anything like that,
Hmm.
definitely fits in the cult.
You put Neon Demon on here. I have not seen this movie. I don't know this movie super well.
Neon Demon is definitely the cult of fashion or the cult of fame in
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood, and just what you're willing to do to get it and what other people are willing to do to keep it.
Yeah.
Slow burn, very stylish. It's got some great performances. Yeah.
And then the House of the Devil.
House of the Devil is like an early Ty West movie that
Oh
is
yeah.
definitely about a cult.
Mm-hmm.
But it is like kind of to me, like House of the Devil is the birth of the slow burn return to 70s horror, 70s style horror making, in which it's like everything's normal, everything's normal, everything's normal, everything goes batshit crazy.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, I put it down as a cult movie, because it was really like House of the Devil came out and people flipped their shit because they were like, nobody's making movies like this anymore. And it sort of reushered this, what I would say is a renaissance of horror.
Interesting. Okay, yeah.
That's what we put.
Yeah, I love that. All right, let's check out our letterboxed. Uh, I also, special nod to previous movies we've done of 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers and
Oh
Kill
yeah,
List both fit this
yeah,
brief perfectly.
yeah.
All right, we've got a bunch of these, so let's
There's a bunch. We're
see.
gonna run through them quick.
All right, why don't you start and see what people have here?
Let's see. Sarah Scarehound recommends let's see. Lords of Salem. This is one that I thought about. This is a good one. A DJ in Salem receives a gift from the Lords, and it's a record that triggers flashbacks to Salem's past.
Hmm.
Definitely very culty, very witchy. This is a Rob Zombie joint. It's actually one of my favorite Rob Zombies. Yeah, so cult upon cult for sure.
Spunky Blah throws out Alucarda, which is
Never
cult
heard of
horror
this.
film. Yeah, this is it's Dracula spelled backwards, right? Almost.
Oh
Um,
my goodness.
but yeah, I believe this is Mexican. I think
Sexy.
it's from Mexico.
Okay. Okay.
1977's horror film. Fifth
Let's see.
Hammer gives a. Oh, go ahead.
Fifth Hammer recommends The Devil's Reign, which is one a murdered family's patriarch seeks revenge upon an Arizona coven that captures souls and worships Satan with
Nice.
William Shatner and Ernest Borgnine, Ida Lupino, Tom Skerritt, John Travolta.
Whoa.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
We've got Chaz Johnson, also once House of the Dead, wanting more Ty
Yeah.
West,
House of the
please.
Devil. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, House of the Devil, 2009. Want more Ty West? Definitely.
Eris Discordia. Oh, this is a good one. Eris Discordia, Nightbreed.
Mm.
I
Oh,
can't believe
Clive
I
Barker, right?
forgot
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, this is a Clive Barker. And it's about a cult, but it's kind of a friendly cult. It's a monster cult. And the cult is actually you're sort of rooting for the cult in this film. But this is definitely a cult movie of the early 90s, late 80s for
Okay.
sure.
JB Wolf gives us Bad Times at the El Royale, 2018, an underrated gem with a great cast, including Chris Hemsworth as a Manson-esque guru.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
this was quite fun.
yeah, I do remember this movie. I saw this movie.
Yeah.
I don't remember a ton about it other than Chris Hemsworth being a charming cult leader.
I just remember it being like very much like a mindfuck hotel, like a bunch of strangers that all meet up in a hotel, but are they strangers? Is
Yeah.
there a reason here? We got B Harps recommends Troll 2. I mean, this is kind of the definitely a cult film. It's about a cult of druids and goblins in a small town called Nilbog.
Okay.
Kids with psychic powers, teens getting covered in green goo, comically bad. It has everything. Now, I've never seen this. Like, this movie is such a cult film that they've made a documentary about how much of a cult film it is.
Uh-huh.
I didn't put it on there because I didn't know there's a cult. But listen, if there's a cult of druids and goblins, I'm in.
Yeah. B Harps also throws out Mad God. Good news, B Harps, on our Patreon. We did that last month, as a matter of fact. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
like 3 months, 3 months ago. It was
No,
a
that
while
was
back.
last month. I think that was last month.
Not when this episode comes out.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah, because we're in real time
We're
and
in,
not
yeah.
podcast time.
But yeah,
Turn
we
on
did
that
we did
black
Mad God
noise
a couple
machine.
months. We did yeah. We did Mad God a couple months back. So it's over on our Patreon. It's only $5 a month to join. You get one of these every single month and they're live and you can join with us to talk,
Yeah.
chat with us while we're doing it. But Ben Euthanasia throws out Cabin in the Woods.
For sure.
Definitely
I would
cult
say-
following. Cult very yeah.
Cult following. It's about a
Cult or-
cult. It's yeah.
It's oh yeah, is it yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's a doomsday culty thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Aldrich von Fausto throws out Cavalier from 2004. I've not heard of this.
Calvaire. I think it's Calvaire.
Oh, Calvaire. Sorry. Calvaire from 2004. Splatter free, but no less effective part of the new French extremity. Oh no, so we have two. We have got two of them on here. Traveling entertainer breaks down an isolated mountain village. Leaving the town will be an ordeal. I love this description because it leaves everything up to the imagination. That sounds really fun.
Let's see here. We've got Get Mike Ironside is the username here. Throws out Red State by Kevin Smith.
Oh, I forgot about this one.
So
I
that's
mean,
interesting.
Kevin Smith, yeah, peak cult director in Kevin Smith, and it is about a cult. Let's see, Dirtbag Shithead
Dirt. Oh,
recommends
this is dirt bike shithead. I love
Dirt
a
Bike,
dirt bike
not
shithead.
Dirtbag.
Yeah.
Dirt Bike Shithead, Silent Hill. Um, Car crash. After a car crash, a woman finds herself in a mysterious town trying to find her daughter before the cult that runs the town does. Absolutely. Because it is based on the very popular video game. I would say a cult following from that. I mean, I've also seen so many people cosplaying the characters from this video
Uh-huh.
game and movie over the years. So definitely has that. I didn't remember being very culty, but I guess it kind of is for sure.
Kate throws out Mandy from 2018.
Sure.
Perfect.
I mean, chainsaw fighting crazy.
Sure.
It's cults. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oz Conway recommends The Babysitter, a fun horror comedy that's so fucking fun. I don't know anything about The Babysitter. But
Yeah,
definitely sounds,
I don't know a ton about it, but sounds delightful.
yeah,
A few people, just to note, have commented on Society because we
yeah,
hadn't picked this movie yet before we had posted this list option. But yeah, this movie does fit huge cult
cult.
following, and it is
Yeah.
a cult. Uh, Dee the Shark gives us two here, or actually, they give us one. They give us Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene.
I mean, that movie is it's definitely a scary, dramatic movie,
Yes.
and it's
Yeah,
about a cult for sure.
definitely about a cult. I don't know if I have seen this movie. This is maybe the feature film debut of Elizabeth Olsen.
I don't know if it was her debut, but woo, it is. I mean, it's a great film.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's terribly scary though. I don't know if it's a horror movie
It's
scary.
super unnerving because it is
Yeah,
about a cult and
yeah,
indoctrination and what that means to, they
yep.
do horrible things to women in this cult and whatever else. But uh I don't know what makes something a horror film. It's
I
so
know.
tough to
Who knows?
say.
Yeah.
Dee Dee the Shark also seconds Mandy and The Endless. And then let's see. We've got
Uh,
okay, yeah.
Danico Ray recommends The Empty Man from 2020, a
Good
bizarre, well
news.
done.
We've done this. It
Oh
is
yeah,
on
we
our
did.
Patreon. Y'all
Yep,
join
yep,
our
we did that.
Patreon, $5 a month, and we have like 40 something movies that we've already done.
Yeah.
So if you join for $5 for 1 month, there's 40 episodes for you right there that you could go
And
download
The Empty Man
immediately.
was a lot of fun. I remember that one was good.
It's a wild ride, yeah.
And it's so funny because, clearly movies that you, the fans, love, a lot of these are cult classic movies for a
Yeah.
reason. So get them on there.
Uh-huh.
And The Void also recommends The Void.
Is this the same Void? Because they wrote The Void 2006. They meant
Was it a different one?
2016 though, right?
I
Yeah,
think
there's a
so.
cult, people
Yeah, there's
trapped in a
people trapped in
hospital.
the
Yeah,
hospital. Yeah,
okay, yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
That's the
so
same movie.
this was such a long list. So at the very
We had
top
to
of
cap it.
well, we only did half of the list.
I know, right?
Um, can I breeze through the ones at the very top?
Yes, please.
King and Commoner gives us two movies: The Village, 2014, M. Night Shyamalan, and also To the Devil a Daughter from 1976, an American occult novelist battles to save the soul of a young girl from a group of Satanists. Uh, we've got some seconding for Mandy, for The Cabin in the Woods, for The Invitation. Diamond Dogs gives us Apostle from 2018.
I've never
You've
seen
seen
this, and
this?
I've
Okay.
no, I really want to though.
Set in 1905, a man tries to rescue his sister from a cult on a remote island. Got a seconding for Apostle, seconding for House of the Devil. Ganymede's Cup gives us Brotherhood of Satan, 1971, American supernatural horror. Families trapped in a desert town by a cult of senior citizens who recruit the town's children to worship Satan.
Sure.
Martin.
Let's
Oh, yeah.
Martin recommends Faults from 2014. Is about an expert in cults who enjoyed fame back when the Satanic Panic was a big deal. The glory days are behind him now, and he's struggling to make ends meet and peddling his cult expertise on poorly extended book tours. But then one day is approached by an older couple who asks him to come to a motel and help deprogram their daughter, who they just liberated from a cult. This is
Oof.
interesting because it kind of sounds less about the cult and more about what happens afterwards. Could be interesting.
Farce Majeure gives us The Veil 2016. Jessica Alba plays the last survivor of a suicide cult, going back to its location for the first time for a documentary. Not sure about a cult following, but it's a little under the radar for the names attached, is what Farce
Sure.
Majeure says.
Let's see. Another seconding Mandy. Weaponized Toaster. The Sacrament. Found footage reveals the events surrounding an investigative team's visit to a remote commune led by a dangerous fanatic who maintains an iron grip on his followers. Yeah. Satanic Panic 2019. A minimum wage delivery girl is forced into a night-long battle with an affluent leaders of a suburban community after discovering that they are part. So many satanic cults going on. And Inferno, Argento's follow-up to Suspiria. The plot follows a young man investigation disappearance of his sister, who has been living in New York City apartment building that also served as a home for a powerful centuries-old witch. So this is part of the Three Mothers trilogy. So definitely cult following, definitely cult there.
Volatile Spider brings up Midsommar.
Sure.
That works.
Have we done Midsommar on this?
We still have
podcast?
never done Midsommar. People are all clamoring for That's
it's
definitely
like,
both cult
like
and cult following.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I feel like we have, because I think we bring it up because we've both seen it and have strong feeling. Everyone has strong feelings about Midsommar.
Sure.
Some seconding for Cabin in the Woods and for Mandy as well.
Yep. Seconding for Empty Man. It's on Patreon.
Oh yeah. What is it? Cat in Seas. Once again, asking you to watch The Empty Man. We have. It's on our Patreon. Go see it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Let's see. Hereditary. It's done it. We've already done it. Hot Fuzz. I kind of like this. Oblate Ellipsoid recommends Hot Fuzz, which I definitely got a cult following and is definitely about a cult. It's very fun. Absolutely. Professor Frenzy, Rocky Horror. Yeah, Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's a cult movie. It's about a cult.
Yeah, totally. And then finally, Sav throws out The Endless from 2017. Two brothers return to a cult they escaped as children. Very trippy and unique.
This one's been in my crosshairs for a while. I really want to watch this.
And also Seconds from 1966. An agency called The Company gives people new lives by faking their deaths and radically altering their appearance through plastic surgery. That sounds really interesting. Both Park Chan-wook and Bong Joon-ho have called it one of their favorite movies.
Oh, interesting.
That's really interesting. Okay, we have a shit ton of movies to pick from.
Many.
What's standing out to you?
Okay. What is standing out?
I'll tell you. Oh, well, let me tell you what really drew me in. Okay, so I feel like Martyrs is one of the biggest on here. Like that makes all the lists of not only like best horror, but like hardest horrors. Like we're talking like the least approachable horror movie in the world. House of the Devil, which you had talked about, this Ty West movie. I'm so interested in this film, especially something that kind of like started kind of a new subgenre of horror or brought one back. Nightbreed is one I haven't seen either.
Nightbreed is great.
A couple other that just off the top of my head sounded like sparked both of our interests were Apostle and The Endless.
Yeah.
Both
I'd say Apostle, The Endless, The Void.
Oh yeah, The Void.
I still want to keep The Cars That Ate Paris on there, just because to me, the idea of a cult. Oh, Troll 2.
Oh yeah.
Because a cult film is so difficult to describe in the era of the internet, in which everything is so fractured. It's like you can find a cult for anything. You can find a cult following for literally anything. So that becomes such a broad description of, I like this movie, that many people don't. It's a cult movie.
Is Troll 2 about... It is a cult. I know it's a cult following.
Yes. I don't know. I've never seen it. I don't know.
I just feel like it's just trolls have taken over.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's about a cult. I guess like a cult of trolls or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, The Invitation sounds really fascinating to me. It's probably about a cult. I've not seen it, but is it a cult movie? I don't know. Cabin in the Woods, Mandy. These two seem like cult movies, definitely about cults.
Yes.
Apostle sounds really fascinating because I
Yeah.
love the idea of taking a cult back to the early 1900s.
Yes.
But is it a cult movie? I don't know.
Okay. So,
Do you think we could get 6 and then roll for it?
yeah. Let me propose real quick here. Hold on just a second. Let me propose so we have some solid like movies about cults, but I really want to dive into something that has a cult following.
Yes.
Um so Cabin in the Woods,
Okay.
strong cult following.
Yes.
Mandy, very strong cult following.
Yep.
Especially just judging off of like the movies we hear about from horror
Yeah, yeah,
fans
yeah.
the most,
Yep.
both here and on our
Yep.
Patreon, of like Mandy gets thrown out a lot.
Yep.
Um, I would say Apostle and the Endless get thrown out quite a bit as well.
Okay.
Maybe stick to Apostle. Martyrs is another one that I think
Yeah. I think
maybe
definitely cult following.
doesn't get suggested from our fan base quite as much, but it shows up so many
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like underrated huge movies. So that's 4. Oh, Cabin in the Woods, Mandy, Apostle, and Martyrs. That's 4. We've got Nightbreed and The Cars That Ate Paris, maybe
Yeah.
are the next 2
To round it out.
to round it out. All right, so that's
Oh,
6.
and then what was
Oh,
that one from the 1960s? Seconds.
oh, Seconds. That's interesting. That's kind of a wild card. We could add, I have an 8-sided dice. We could just do 8. And that's 7 of them. Do we want to add The Endless, The Void, The Invitation? What of those sounds good? Let you pick the
Endless,
8th
the
movie.
void. And
The
wait, the endless, the
Endless,
void.
The Void,
Endless,
or
the void.
Void, or The Invitation.
Oh, I feel like the void.
Yeah.
Just because oh wait, no. It's so hard. Because I've seen the void, but it's been a long ass time.
Yeah.
But I've not seen Invitation. I really want to. And I've not seen the Endless either.
I haven't seen The Endless, but I have seen The Invitation, but I have not seen The Void. So we
Oh,
could say The Endless since neither of us have seen
yeah.
it.
Let's go with that one. Let's go with that one.
Okay, here we are. We have 8 movies. I'm gonna roll an 8-sided die, which I have somewhere here, right here. There's my 8-sided die. Cabin in the Woods 1, Mandy 2, Apostle 3, Martyrs 4, Nightbreed is 5, The Cars That Ate Paris is 6, Seconds is 7, and The Endless is 8. All right, are you willing to take whatever the die gives us?
Whatever the die gives us.
Okay, let's go. That's a 2. We're gonna do Mandy.
All right. Nicolas
Damn.
Cage, here we go.
Yeah, I'm excited to finally get to Mandy. I feel like that really fits the cult brief.
I think it does as well.
The culty cult brief.
Yes.
All right. Well, that was a very intense episode of good times
epic.
here. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me. If you have thoughts on Society or ideas for other movies that would have been your pick for a movie about cults that has a cult following, let us know on Instagram at randomhorror9 or over on Patreon, where we have public discussion threads for each episode, and you don't have to be a paying member to participate. But if you do want to be a paying member, $5 a month, we already have 40 some odd episodes. You have access to both video and audio only of that. So watch Mandy with us this week and come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no worms in your golden delicious or nothing. Boo.